Hello and welcome to the Random Access Show. My name is Leon Panopoulos, and today I'll be giving you a year in review of the year in technology. That's right, we're going to go over all the major milestones we've seen in technology this year. It's going to be great, trust me. I'm Leon Panopoulos, you're tuned in to the Random Access Show. Hello, I'm Leon Panopoulos and welcome to the Random Access Show. Today, we'll be giving you a year in review in technology. That's right, all the major technological events of the year. We'll be giving you a run through and reminiscing of the good times. The first thing I want to talk about is probably one of the biggest events that have happened this year. Elon Musk bought out Twitter. And this is a really big one because it affects a lot of people. Elon Musk bought out Twitter this year, just around a month ago, for $44 billion. Now, this took quite a while to actually process. It had to go through court. Elon Musk fought for this. And he had a lot of controversial policies that he wanted to add to Twitter. And he promised to bring back a lot of accounts that had been banned from their platform, and he did. And he's also been under fire from a lot of the media for what he's done. He's done a lot of things very quickly in the space that since he's bought out Twitter, and now in that space he's done a lot of things. And whether that's a good thing or not is another question. And, a lot of people are questioning, did Elon Musk get his money worth? Because he's fired over half of the employees. He has fired quite a few top executives. He brought back an executive. And, there's a lot of people leaving Twitter to go to other platforms such as Mastodon. And it makes you think, did he make the right decision? And, I know a few people that have said he's a moneymaker. He's not going to spend $44 billion on something that he's going to lose money off, So that's one side of it. But on the other side, was it really worth $44 billion to buy out a platform, to make, massive policy changes and to fire hundreds of people, all it just, for Twitter? That's something that a lot of people have their own opinions on. But the fact that he did buy out Twitter is a major step in technology. It's increased free speech on the platform, but there's also been a lot of people leaving the platform, like I said, to go to platforms such as Mastodon. Elton John recently left Twitter. He made a statement. A few accounts have been reinstated to Twitter as well. A few still haven't been reinstated that he said he would allow back onto the platform. So there's a lot going on there, and it's a major milestone in tech. It's also a big topic of debate in the media and in households as well. So that's our first story. Second, MacBook M2. Apple released the M2 MacBooks this year, and it wasn't as exciting as most people thought it would be. I did a whole episode on Apple's far out event. I did a few stories on the M2, and really the M2 chip, what we want to know is, was it actually worth it over buying the M1? Should you buy the M2 for a more expensive price, or should you buy the M1? And in terms of the performance increases that we saw, the M2 didn't really give much over the M1. And we spoke about that quite a lot. And, for me, I would still buy the the M1 MacBook. But there are a lot of people that I know that next year will be buying an M2. You know, by that time, prices will have dropped. A few people have bought during Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. And, you know, the M2 MacBook is the second stage of Apple's ARM, Apple Silicon, proprietary silicon MacBooks. And, you know, was moving away from Intel really such a good idea? Again, that's another question. You know, was moving away from Intel the right thing to do, or was it not? Because a lot of developers, of course, are also asking this question, because they are now required to reprogram a lot of their apps and their software so that it is compatible with the new silicon, right? And a lot of them are angry because they have now been forced to do this. And, you know, they're used to coding for x64 and x86, and now they have to relearn and reprogram in order to make their living. All right, it's hard enough as it is, and now they have to relearn to code for, you know, the new MacBooks. But in terms of the consumer perspective, it could have been the right thing for Apple to have done, right? A bunch of angry developers is not really much of a loss over, you know, millions more dollars in Apple's wallet. Next, in Australia here, we saw hacks, two major hacks, Optus and Medibank data breaches. Right, and these came within the space of around a month of each other. And, you know, a lot of people got suspicious over the hacks. A few people, you know, were very upset. Quite a few people, actually. There were over like 9-10 million people who had their data breached in these attacks. And, you know, it made a lot of people think, how much money is Australia actually spending on cybersecurity? And we need to spend a lot more. We need to be a lot more attentive to what is going on our systems and on our networks. Could these hacks have been something that could have been easily prevented? Right? And a lot of cyber experts have said, well, yes, it could have. A lot of them have said, well, no, not really. But if we spend more money and if we spend more time looking at our cyber defense, then we could have stopped millions of people getting their data breached in these two major hacks in Australia. And these are very significant attacks because we've never had data breaches this big. And now Optus and Medibank are, you know, making these massive apologies. Optus has a new commercial out on TV that I saw a few weeks ago that says, we are sorry, we're apologizing. Do you want to move to digital ID, you know, to keep your data safe and whatever, all that sort of stuff, right? They're apologizing for something that could possibly have been prevented, right? Or not even, maybe not stopped, but maybe we could have stopped it halfway, right? And instead of 9 million people getting their data breached, only 3 or 4 million people got their data breached, right? Anything that we can stop is a win for us. And Medibank and Optus didn't do anything right in this situation, and instead they had millions of people's data breached, right? And this is now out on the dark web, right? And if you wanted to go and find this information, it wouldn't be that hard. So this has been really significant in Australian history, and I think it's a wake-up call to the Australian government to say, we need to look more into our cyber defense, we need to spend more money into this, and into big corporations. They have a wake-up call as well, saying we need to look at our cyber defense more, we need to get more experts, we need to get more money into these departments, and we need to really figure out what's going on here before this happens to our company. We also saw the release of 2 new chip architectures, Zen 4 and Raptor Lake. I'm going to start with Zen 4 because that was released first. And Zen 4 was pretty good, pretty cool. You know, we saw Ryzen 7000 coming out with 4 new motherboard chipsets as well. Integrating PCIe 5, DDR5 only support. That is a big step as opposed to Intel's Alder Lake, which had a DDR4 or DDR5, right? AMD's gone that step further, said, no, DDR5's out. We're going to use it only. We're not going to make our chips support either DDR4 or DDR5. That's more work for us, and we want DDR5 to be the industry standard, right? So AMD has gone that extra step. For Zen 4, use DDR5, use PCIe 5. And, hopefully that was for the best, but we really don't know. And, but yeah, performance increases have been massive. Again, I did a whole episode on that. I even did an episode on the 7950X versus the 3900K. And, you can go check that one out as well. But Ryzen 7000 performance increases have been absolutely massive. The 7600X beat the 12900K in performance, right? So the flagship of the Intel Alder Lake series was beaten and defeated by not even like the mid of the range of the AMD Ryzen 7000 series. So that tells you that there's a lot of performance packed into that chip, right? And so a lot of people are going to go AMD this build generation, I think. And for good reason. They're cheaper than Intel as well. And I think they're going to be pretty good gaming chips as well. And I'm going to be building a PC within the next year or so as well. So I'll let you know what I use for that build, but it is most likely going to be AMD, especially when I spoke about in the last episode, I spoke about the price points, right? In terms of pricing, AMD is way ahead of Intel in pricing, right? $100 cheaper in terms of both the flagships. AMD is $100 cheaper than Intel, which is going to be a massive advantage to a lot of people, and it's could make or break whether they use Intel or AMD. And I think AMD is going to get a lot of wins in that price point. In terms of Raptor Lake, there's not too much to say. They've kept the same architecture as they did with Alder Lake, that performance core and efficiency core architecture, the hybrid one. And, it looks appealing. They're kind of on par, and in some cases beating Zen 4. But overall, I'd say that Raptor Lake and Zen 4 are kind of equal, right? It won't entirely matter which one you go with. It's basically really up to personal preference and up to you. It depends on your use case. It depends on your budget. It depends on how much stock there is. And it really just depends on how you're going to use it, and it's up to you, right? I'm personally going to go with AMD. I prefer AMD chips. I prefer the fact that it has performance cores and efficiency cores merged into the one core, right? Because Intel has performance and efficiency cores separate, right? And that doesn't, in my opinion, that's wasting cores. You've got 24 cores in the 13900K, right? You've got 16 cores in the Ryzen 7950X, and you're getting the same performance, right? Same performance with 16 cores as you are in 24 cores. So Intel is wasting that core count when really they could be using those extra 8 cores for added performance. Look, Intel hasn't had the best year this year either, and really, they need to get their game on. I think they need to figure out what they're gonna do within the next year and 2 years. They're trying to open up their fabs to third parties, to manufacture for third parties. They're behind on their process nodes, and look, I think it's gonna keep going downhill until they have a plan, they figure something out. And Pat Gelsinger has got to step up his game and say, look, we need to hurry up with these process nodes. We need to hurry up in opening these fabs, and we need to realize that that's not the only thing we're going to make money off. We need to focus on our CPUs, even release 2 CPU architectures a year. Right? Stuff like that is going to get them ahead of AMD, because right now AMD has they're rapidly growing market share, and that's not good for Intel at all. Anyway, thanks for listening to the Random Access Show. That's all for the year in review, and I'm so excited to see you next year. We'll have some great episodes, a new season, and all's going to be great. I'll see you next year. I'm Liam Panopoulos. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. You're tuned into the Random Access Show.